Welcome to SDN Tech Networking Podcast, world's first human-curated AI podcast where we break down complex topics into bite-sized, easy-to-digest pieces.
All right, so ever wish you could just forget about passwords like poof, gone?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
That's what we're going to dig into today. Like, how do we make sure everything's secure online without going crazy trying to log in? Authentication protocols, all that jazz.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild ride from like the early internet to where we are now. And what's even cooler is like where things are headed.
You brought some really interesting stuff to look at.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the basics. Like, why even bother with all this authentication stuff?
Okay, so imagine a bank, right?
Okay.
No security guards, no vault, no nothing. Just anyone can walk in, take what they want.
Yikes. That's not good.
Not good at all. Authentication, that's your digital security guard. It's making sure that only, the right people are getting into your stuff online, accounts, information, all that.
So, like, the gatekeepers of our digital lives.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that. So back in the day, like way back, how did this whole authentication thing even work?
Oh, man, it was the Wild West back then.
Yeah.
Every single app, every website had its own login.
Oh, so it was just chaos.
Pure chaos. I mean, you had to remember like a million different usernames and passwords and security, pretty much non-existent. Think about dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of devices all trying to connect. They needed a way to make sure it was the right people logging in, and they couldn't have a separate database for every single service.
Right, so like too much to handle.
Way too much.
So then what happened? What changed?
So that's when Radius came along. Short for, get this, remote authentication dial-in user service.
Catchy.
Yeah, real catchy, right? But it was a game changer, especially for big networks like universities and companies.
Okay, so break it down for me. How did Radius actually work?
Okay, so think of Radius as the bouncer for the entire network. You want to log in, say, to your work computer, right?
Right.
Your computer sends your info, username, password, all that to the Radius server. This server's got a massive database of everyone on the network. It checks if you're legit, and if you are, boom, you're in. If not,
Access denied.
access denied.
So Radius brought some order to the chaos.
It did, for sure.
But it wasn't the end, right?
Nope, not even close.
What were some of the problems with Radius?
Okay, so as the internet grew up, things got more complex. Web apps became a big deal, and security needed to get, way tougher. We're talking multi-factor authentication, all that. Radius, not really built for that.
Like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly. Plus, you still have to log into each app separately. Still a pain.
So still a lot of passwords to juggle.
Oh, yeah. So people are still tired of typing in passwords all the time.
Okay, so what was the next big step? What came after Radius?
That's when Samuel stepped onto the scene.
Samuel.
Security assertion markup language. Bit of a mouthful, I know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Samuel brought us true single sign-on.
Oh, so that means, you log in once and you're good to go everywhere.
You got it. Way more convenient.
Hallelujah. No more password overload.
Right. So imagine you want to get to, your work project management tool.
Okay.
With SAML, the app doesn't actually handle the login itself. Instead, it redirects you to your company's identity provider.
So like a separate system that handles all the login stuff.
Yeah, think of it like one trusted source that verifies you for all your work apps.
Okay, makes sense. So then what?
You log in there, could be with a password, two-factor, even like a fingerprint scan, whatever they use. And once you're in, the identity provider sends a message back to the app.
Like a little note saying, hey, this person's good to go.
Basically, it's called a SAML assertion. It's digitally signed, all official and secure. So the app knows it can trust it, checks its own rules, and bam, lets you in.
Okay, so no more logging in a million times.
Yeah.
And it sounds more secure, too.
Way more secure. Because everything's centralized.
That's smart. So SAML was a pretty big deal then.
Huge. And it wasn't just about single sign-on. It also brought this idea of federated identity.
Federated identity. Now that sounds fancy. What is that?
So think about when you use your Google account to log in to other stuff, like Spotify or some online stores.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time.
Right, so you don't have to make a new account every time. You're basically saying, hey, Google already knows who I am. Just trust them.
Super convenient.
Right, and way easier for everyone.
So SAML was all about making things easier and more secure.
Yep, two birds, one stone.
But I'm guessing there's more to the story.
Oh, yeah, there's always more to the story. Oh, there's one more piece we got to talk about, OpenID Connect, or OIDC for short.
Okay, so now we're getting really fancy.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's basically like SAML's cooler, younger sibling.
Okay, and why do we need another one? I thought SAML was the solution.
It is great, don't get me wrong, but SAML is kind of like the king of the castle. It works best inside a protected network, like a company's system.
Makes sense.
OIDC is more like, imagine a global passport that works everywhere online.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it lets you use, say, your Google account to log into all sorts of websites without creating separate accounts for each one.
Okay, so it's all about convenience.
Convenience and security, because with OIDC, you're not sharing your actual password with those websites. You're using your Google identity to vouch for you.
That makes sense.
Oh.
So it's like having a trusted friend introduce you.
Exactly. And because it's built on open standards, everyone can use it. Any website, any app, it just works.
So SAML for inside a company and OIDC for like the whole internet.
You got it. They each have their strengths.
Okay, that's helpful to know. So with all these advancements, why are we still messing with passwords? I mean, they're a pain to remember and it feels like I'm always resetting them.
Ah, the age-old question. Well, that brings us to the future of authentication, passkeys.
Passkeys. Okay, I think I've heard that term floating around. What are they exactly?
Yeah.
And are they actually going to save us from this password nightmare?
Passkeys are like, imagine a world without passwords at all. It's still early days, but it's where things are headed. And the cool thing is they're built on super strong cryptography.
Cryptography? No, that sounds intimidating.
Yeah, it can get a bit technical.
Yeah.
But basically imagine you have two keys, a public key and a private key.
Okay, go on.
Your private key stays safe and sound on your device, like your phone or computer. It never, ever leaves. When you want to log into a website, your device uses that private key to create a special digital signature. It's like your unique digital fingerprint.
And the website checks that fingerprint.
Exactly. It uses your public key, which is like the matching piece, to verify that it's really you.
Okay, so no more typing in passwords.
No more passwords, period. And the best part, since your private key never goes out on the internet, hackers can't steal it, no matter how clever they are.
That's a huge relief. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm always reading about some data breach where passwords got leaked.
Yeah, that's the thing with passkeys. They're virtually phishing-proof.
Yeah.
Even if you accidentally clicked on a fake website link, your passkey wouldn't work. It's tied to the real deal.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so they're super secure, but are they easy to use? Because if it's too complicated, people aren't going to bother with it.
They're surprisingly easy. On most modern devices, it's built right into the system. You go to a website that supports passkeys, they'll ask you to set one up, and usually it's just a quick fingerprint scan or Face ID.
It's like setting up my phone to unlock.
Exactly, super simple, and once you've got it, the next time you visit that site, boom, you're in. Just like that.
No more remembering passwords, no more two-factor codes. That's amazing. Are there any downsides? Like, what if I lose my phone? All my passkeys gone.
Good question. Most passkey systems have ways to back things up. You can set up a trusted contact or even use a physical security key. It's like a spare key for your digital life.
Okay, that makes me feel better. So are passkeys like the end game? Is this the future of authentication?
It definitely has the potential to be. It's not just about making things more secure, it's about giving you more control over your digital identity.
I like that, taking back control.
And think about it. Passwords are everywhere right now. Banking, healthcare, all that. Imagine a world where you can access everything securely with just a glance or a touch.
That would be incredible. No more password fatigue.
Exactly. And we're already seeing companies starting to get on board. It's still early days, but the future is looking pretty passwordless.
That's exciting. So what can our listeners do to, like, get ready for this passwordless revolution?
I'd say the best thing to do is be proactive. Keep an eye out for websites and apps that start offering passkey support. Usually it'll be somewhere in their security settings or help section.
So, like, don't wait for them to tell you. Go and check it out yourself.
Exactly. And when you see the option, turn it on. It's a small change, but it can make a big difference for your security.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
And if people want to, really get into the nitty-gritty of it all,
Oh, then definitely check out the FIDO Alliance website. They're the folks behind passkeys. They've got a ton of info on how it all works and why it's so important.
awesome. I'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. It's pretty amazing to think about how this could change things,
Mhm.
not just security, but how we actually use the internet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Imagine logging in with just a look or a touch. No more typos, no more stress, just instant access.
Sounds pretty futuristic.
It does, doesn't it? But we're still kind of in the early stages.
Right. It takes time for everyone to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like any big change, but the momentum's building. More and more companies are getting on board, and people are starting to see how much easier and safer it can be.
It feels like we're on the verge of something big. Soon, Using passwords is going to be like, I don't know, using a rotary phone.
Haha, I like that analogy. Yeah, passwords had their time, but they're just not cutting it anymore. Passkeys are like the next evolution.
It's amazing to think about how far we've come. We've gone from everyone doing their own thing to like this whole new world of passwordless possibilities.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible journey when you think about it. And it all comes down to making things better for people, making it easier and safer to be online.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of authentication.
It has been fun.
We started with the basics, like why do we even need this stuff? And we ended up talking about a future where passwords are a thing of the past. It's mind-blowing. So for our listeners who are still processing all of this, what are the main things you want them to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is authentication is about more than just passwords. It's about proving who you are, making sure you're the right person trying to access your stuff. And how we do that, it's always changing. It's got to keep up with the times, right?
That's a really good point. It's not about memorizing a bunch of random characters anymore. It's about embracing new technologies like passkeys that can keep us safe and make our lives easier.
Exactly. So stay curious, see what's out there, and be a part of shaping this new world of authentication.
I love that. Be a part of the change. It's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into the world of tech. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to explore, just let us know. We're always excited to hear from you. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.